Hey guys, Teresa here. Welcome back to my channel, Lost My Thread. Today I'm going to be catching you up on my personal style journey, how that has influenced my sewing over the last year, and what I'm looking forward to doing in the coming year. Coming to the end of May, I've been thinking a lot about some videos that I made last May where I was trying to understand a little bit more about my personal style, both where it was and where I was hoping for it to go. And I rewatched those videos just to try and get a little bit more in the headspace of where I was last year. And it's interesting to see that quite a lot of those things have continued through, things that I would like to do with my style. And I think I've done a pretty good job of bringing a lot of those elements into my wardrobe over the last year. But at the same time, there are some bits that I want to say goodbye to, let go of, maybe move a little bit forward from. Our style is obviously continuously evolving. I do not want to be in a situation where I'm wearing the same clothes all the time and feeling bored by them. I'm much more interested in trying out some different things, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, and then just letting my style change naturally. Growing up, I was never super into fashion. I mean, I enjoyed my clothes, I enjoyed picking out my clothes, but there was a long period of my life where I actually was not so interested in getting attention from others and really wanted to minimize that by wearing things that were oversized, that maybe weren't as loud. And as I've gotten older and come into myself a bit more, I feel like I've been really embracing style and fashion a bit more. I do think that sewing and fashion style, they are very much interrelated. As much as in my head, there's like the super stylish people over there, and then there's me and my little sewing corner over here. Realistically, my sewing is and my life is going to be influenced by things that I see around me. The sewing world, sewing patterns and fabrics that are around are very much influenced by what's going on the runways, in the mainstream shops. And I feel like I need to recognize that and accept that. But the great thing about sewing is that you are not limited to just what you see around you that is on trend, that is fashionable. And I do like the freedom that you get from that. But at the same time, I think for me, it's been really useful to actually spend some time really digging into what it is that I am getting from my wardrobe and what I would like to get from my wardrobe. I did, like I said, make a whole series of videos last year. I'll put a link to the playlist up here and down in the description box if you do want to check it out. I did some research and I did rewatch those videos to get really tuned in for today to really understand where I was at a year ago. And it's interesting what has changed and what hasn't. And I am definitely happy to say that most of the things that I was hoping to do over the last year, I have done. And I feel really satisfied that I've been able to at least achieve the goal that I set myself. Now, when I started this style journey last year, the first thing I wanted to do was to understand where my style was at the time. And I came up with 3 words to describe my style, which were soft, colorful, and timeless. I think soft is definitely an appropriate one. I do like soft fabrics. I like soft drape. I like soft handles, soft gathers on things. Colorful is definitely a consistent one for me that goes throughout, and timeless was more thinking about things that were not necessarily super trendy or fashionable, but things that were more just classic but not necessarily buttoned down, things that would work for a variety of periods. Now, of course, fashion is cyclical, so fashion that was really popular in the 70s came back in the 90s, now it's back again. But I do think that there are some elements that can be sort of moved throughout the different eras and not necessarily stuck in just one time frame. I also put together some Pinterest boards last year just to try and show a little bit of inspiration of where I wanted my style to go. And I came up with a name for that style, a very silly, playful name, which I decided was Early Autumn, Late 70s Art College Crush. And I do think that on the whole, I've done a pretty good job of incorporating that into my wardrobe. So I've shown you some images of what my Pinterest board looks like. I will now show you some images of things that I've made over the last year that I feel like really do fit in with that vision. And I feel like a lot of the things that I made would slot in very nicely into that Pinterest board and be very much the kind of style that I was really hoping to achieve. Now, I should say I have not been looking at these Pinterest boards regularly throughout the year. The last time I looked at them was when I made that video before I was prepping for this one. It was more for me about trying to internalize what I wanted for my personal style, and I feel like going through the more lengthy, in-depth process really did work for that. It was still funny to me though that when I did look at the Pinterest board, there were some things that it basically looked like I had taken that and then tried to recreate it for myself in my wardrobe, and I think I did a pretty successful job with a few makes. But like I said, I wasn't doing this necessarily intentionally, but I clearly was gravitating towards certain things and being inspired by certain things. And I want to talk through some key garments that I feel like really do seem like they were taken directly from Pinterest. The first is the Cameron button-up that I made in a viscose twill fabric. Now, I did note that there were a lot of floral shirts, drapey floral shirts that I was pinning that I liked the look of, and I wanted to do something similar, and I feel like that one is definitely completely on point. There's not necessarily one shirt, but there are a variety of shirts that I feel like really influenced this make, and I have to say I have loved wearing this shirt. I definitely do want to make more of this style. I definitely want to make more with this pattern. I want to make more with nice drapey fabrics in a similar vein. And so it was nice to actually see that once I had that shirt in my wardrobe, it definitely did get a lot of wear, and it has become a real staple for me. There was a particular style of button-up linen skirt that I was pinning all over the place, and I knew that the estuary skirt by So Liberated would be perfect for that. I didn't really know what colors to go with, and I was really hoping to incorporate some chocolate brown into my wardrobe, and then the Fabric Godmother came out with the perfect chocolate brown viscose linen blend that I feel like was the ultimate for me. I cannot tell you how many times I have worn this skirt. Well and truly, I have worn it throughout all seasons. It is such a staple. It feels like me. It's one of those things, as soon as I finished it, I put it on. It felt like my skirt. Like, oh yeah, my skirt that I've been waiting to wear that I haven't sewed up for all these years. I definitely do want to make more of those ones, but this one in the chocolate brown in particular, it is just so perfect for me, and it goes with so many things in my wardrobe, and it just feels so pretty and light, and it is definitely very much the style that I want to keep with. The jumpsuit that I'm wearing today is something that was a bit of a creation dreamt up based on some things that I'd seen on my Pinterest boards, ideas and visions that I had for my wardrobe. This is a mashup of the Anthea blouse by Anna Allen on top with the Ferris jumpsuit by Jennifer Lauren Handmade on the bottom. I did make a whole video about how to mash these two patterns together, which can be used with a variety of top and jumpsuit patterns. I'll put a link down in the description if you want to check that particular video out. But this is in a viscose twill fabric, which to me is absolutely perfect so that I can wear it really for so many different seasons. It is lightweight, it has a beautiful drape to it, but it's also very breathable. So today, on like a cooler spring day, it's perfect. But obviously the colors are very autumnal, so wearing it into the autumn works really well. I feel like the floral print, the colors on it, is honestly for me better than the things that I had pinned on Pinterest. The ones that I saw I liked, but this is just exactly what I was hoping I could create, and I'm really pleased with it, and I do feel like it fits really well into the style that I wanted, and I will be making more of these jumpsuits, definitely. I also had ideas of making a boiler suit style jumpsuit really suited to the colder weather, and I haven't actually shared this on my channel. This will be coming up in a makes video soon, but you get to see it here first. I made the Blanca flight suit by Closet Core Patterns, and I do think that there's definitely some parallels with things that I was pinning on Pinterest. I had a corduroy jumpsuit that I like the look of, a denim and a cotton twill jumpsuit that had more of a similar style. This fabric is a very wide wale corduroy fabric. It's an Atelier Brunette bubble corduroy. Really cool, really unusual fabric. But I will say this has been such a fun and comfortable jumpsuit to wear. I would be curious to try it sized down, which I know they say you can do to get more of a fitted silhouette, but I do also just really love the version that I've got, and I think you can see quite clearly where the inspiration came from. Even if it wasn't direct, definitely internalized. And I will be sharing more about that in my next makes video. There was a pair of pants that I became semi-obsessed with because mainly I was just so into the color of the trousers. I did like the overall look of the drape of them, the wide leg nature, but the photos that I had were really not showing very much of those pants. So I wasn't too specific in interest, apart from the fabric was the main thing that I really wanted to get my hands on. And I was lucky enough to find some fabric on a D-stash on Instagram that is exactly the fabric that I wanted, which is this. Now, I feel like my camera really wants to try and make this, I think, a bit more yellow than it actually is, and I will correct the color just to show you guys if I don't think that it's being accurate. But this is a viscose twill fabric with wonderful drape and movement, and I am in the process of sewing up the Closet Core Mitchell trousers in this fabric. Now, I had made that decision before I decided to go on to Google Lens and see if I could actually do like a reverse image search and get more pictures of this whole top to toe outfit and a little bit more of what these trousers look like. Having seen that, I feel like it's even more perfect with the pattern that I've chosen and the fabric that I have. I'm not recreating these pants, but I feel like it's going to have very much the same kind of look to it, and I'm really excited to have that in my wardrobe soon. Now on my Pinterest boards, I actually had a whole one separately for loungewear because I knew that there was an area of my wardrobe that was really lacking. And I did spend a lot of time, particularly during the So Frugal challenge, so in the month of March, making some loungewear that I feel like really fits with the overall look of that Pinterest board. In particular, there was one jumpsuit that I think probably did seep into my subconscious that I more or less copied by using two free sewing patterns. So this jumpsuit I made in a really wonderful modal French terry. It's so soft, it has beautiful drape to it. The pattern on it is so pretty. I really love this jumpsuit. The top is the Luna Tank by Helen's Closet, and the bottom is the Hattie elastic waist lounge pants by Tiana's Closet. I did hack it to add my slash pocket into it, which I really love. Overall, this jumpsuit is one of my favorite things to wear. The only thing I will say with my loungewear is because I've made some tops and trousers that are matching sets, they are fabulous to wear together. I love wearing them together, but I will typically wear my lounge pants for more than a day, sometimes 2 or 3, depending on how long I wear them. But my tops, once they've been worn, need to go in the wash. So I need to make some more like oversized tees, I think is probably the best thing that I could have that I could mix and match so that I have some other things to wear with these very specific loungewear trousers. But I will say that that overall has worked so well for me that I feel like I can wear those things lounging at home, and then if I do have to pop out to the shops, or if I need to, I don't know, go to the post office, something like that, I can just put a bra on, go out, and I feel really put together. Looking back at those Pinterest boards, there are some things that are still really speaking to me that I feel like are calling out to be in my wardrobe, and that is more of the feminine blouses and shirts. So either like a floral feminine pattern on some fabric, or a shirt with a drapier fabric, or something more plain like a solid print with just some nice little feminine details on there. I'm still loving the puffy sleeve. I'm liking the gathers in my clothes. I'm liking the wide leg trousers. But there are some bits that I feel like I'm kind of finished with. I'm not saying that I'm never going to make them again, but they're just not calling to me in the same way. That includes quilted vests. Now, I had pinned some images of quilted vests partly because I wanted to challenge myself to try and wear a quilted vest that I'd made a little bit more. And I've recently come to the conclusion that I'm just not in love with that quilted vest. I'm going to let it go, and that is fine. So I feel like the quilted vest looks, they just don't feel like me. And so I'm pretty happy to just set that one to one side. Now, this one I feel like is going to be a bit of a shocker, certainly to myself, if not to other people. And that is, I feel like I need a pause on corduroy. I really love corduroy, and I sew a lot of corduroy. I wear a lot of corduroy, but for that reason, I feel like maybe my wardrobe's a little bit oversaturated at the moment. I'm not saying that corduroy I'm done with, but I'm okay for right now to not plan anything with any corduroy anytime soon. And if inspiration strikes, then I'm going to go ahead. And I do have some corduroy fabrics in my stash, so I'm not going to let just languish forever. But I'm just not feeling desperate to be making those types of items at the moment. And something that I'm putting a bit of a pause on is velvet. I'd made a whole section of my Pinterest boards for specifically velvet fabric because I love the idea of just wearing tons of velvet things. Velvet and corduroy do have some things in common, and I think they're appealing to me in a similar way. Particularly the drapey velvets look just so luxurious and so beautiful. I did experiment with some silk velvet. I made a dress last December for Christmas. If you did see the videos around the time, you will know how that went. It was not a fun process putting that dress together, and sadly it fell apart on the day, which is not what you want on Christmas. Fortunately, it was after everybody had kind of gone and it was not visible to anybody else. But it was a real disappointment. And I will say I did love wearing that fabric on the day, but it is just such a beast to work with. I appreciate not all velvets are the same, and I have actually bought like a more structured velvet that I want to do something with at some point, but I'm not feeling like I need to be pushing myself in that direction too much at the moment. Maybe another day. And I think my interest in skirts has shifted a little bit. I did make a short skirt, the Elmwood skirt from the Cashmere Club, in a cotton broadcloth that is really cool. It's definitely very much in keeping with the 70s style that I was into. It worked really well with turtlenecks, tights, and boots. But I'm kind of fed up with having to wear tights and the breathability or lack of breathability of wearing tights, and it did put me off wearing that skirt. I did find myself gravitating more towards midi or maxi length skirts that I could wear with high boots without the tights, and so I feel like I'm going to remember that and maybe lean more into those styles. Not saying short skirts are not coming back at some point, but they're just not really what I need right now. I think the biggest difference is really about where I want my style to go now compared to a year ago, is I'm leaning less into the boho style and more into what I would call like city chic. I like the idea of having clothes that I could wear to work and also in the day-to-day and just wear them interchangeably. I like the idea of having some slightly dressier but comfortable trousers and shirts and blouses with those feminine details. I feel like I'm enjoying wearing things that are a bit more elegant as opposed to cute. And I also feel like I'm less stuck on the 1970s. I feel like I've kind of done a lot with that and I've really enjoyed it, but I feel like I want to just branch out a little bit more. And there are certainly elements of 1970s style that do just continuously draw me in. So I'm sure those bits will still come into my wardrobe, but I feel like I want to get a little bit more of small design details from different time periods, from different types of style, maybe playing together in unexpected ways. That's really exciting me a little bit more this year. So I'm not expecting huge changes in my sewing, but I think the main thing for me is just being able to draw a line in the sand and say, right, from this point going forward, these are the things I really want to focus on. These are the things that I'm willing to just maybe set aside or possibly even just leave behind. I think it's just useful for me to just kind of declutter my own headspace and get a really good focus on what I'm wanting to put into my wardrobe. I would love to hear how your style is evolving. There may be things that you've noticed that you're really gravitating towards, or things that you're just really not enjoying that you really want to just move on from. To me, it's so much more interesting and fun to interact with you guys and hear about your own style journeys, because none of us are the same. And that is the whole fun of sewing. We can kind of get into what we really want and get what we want from the process. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please do give me a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel if you want to see upcoming videos, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!